Hey, what's up everybody? JR here again from HolyFaith Media. I'm stuck in traffic and had something on my mind, so I wanted to come on, change focus a little bit, change the topic from the abuse crisis, which we've been covering, seems like non-stop as of recently. And I want to talk about something else, and that it's all spurred by a conversation that I've been having with a couple of Orthodox people recently online on an Western Orthodox monk's page, and it was very revealing. So the issue at play was predominantly the Filioque. What? What's that? Most Western Catholics have no idea what I'm talking about when I say the Filioque. Many of you watching this video probably know what I'm talking about, but let me explain. The Filioque is the term, it's a Latin word, which translates in English as "and the Son." So most commonly it's referenced when talking about the Creed and talking about the Great Schism that happened in 1054 between the Greek Church and the Latin Church. The Greeks at that time, and still to this day, they continue to protest that the Latins inserted into the Creed the term "and the Son" when talking about the procession of the Holy Spirit. That the Holy Spirit proceeds from the Father, which is what everybody says, whether you're Catholic or Orthodox. But the Latin Church also says "and the Son." Now, the Greeks charged the Latins with, they did back then and they do now, they charged the Latins with subjugating the Holy Spirit to a lesser role than the Father and the Son, thereby changing the nature of the Holy Trinity. I'm here to say today that that's not true. Why is it not true? Because a number of the fathers used the Filioque. Now, admittedly, mostly it was Western fathers, but there are a few examples of Eastern fathers as well. Now, in this Facebook back and forth I had with this former traditional Roman Catholic turned Orthodox, I pointed out to her a number of examples. I quoted at least 5 church fathers that used the Filioque. One of them was St. Cyril of Alexandria, one was St. Hilary, St. Ambrose of Milan, and I believe the other one was St. Augustine. Now, there's other Eastern fathers who, they don't use "and the Son," but they basically say the same thing. And they say what the Latin Church means when we say "and the Son." Now, a few years ago, I believe it was Pope Benedict XVI, maybe when he was Cardinal Ratzinger, or maybe during his pontificate, or perhaps even both. At some time, he clarified that what the Catholic Church means when we say that the Holy Spirit proceeds from the Father and the Son, what it means is that the Holy Spirit proceeds from the Father through the Son. So with that understanding, most Greek Orthodox would accept that. There'll be a few holdouts who maybe won't. But I continue to see this charge of heresy from the Greeks and all of the Orthodox, not to exclude any of the other ethnicities, but many of them will still say they'll go on prejudiced apologetics and still insist that we mean something different than through the Son by saying "and the Son." So what the Catholic Church does not mean is that the origin of the Holy Spirit is from the Son. We recognize that the Spirit eternally proceeds from the Father, but that he also proceeds through the Son. You can look at a number of Eastern fathers and a number of Western fathers that use the term directly "and the Son." Now, some of them, like St. Basil the Great, for example, who is one of the, for lack of a better term, big 3 amongst the Eastern Orthodox, along with St. John Chrysostom and St. Gregory the Theologian. They're 3 of the most important saints or theologians in the Greek Church. Now, St. Basil says something very similar. He uses the term "through the Son," and he explains it in a way that means exactly what the Catholic Church believes regarding the procession of the Holy Spirit. So I encourage many of the Orthodox to go back and to study the fathers. Now, if you want to use the argument that the Filioque was put into the creed or inserted in the creed without an ecumenical council, well, that's another charge altogether. That's an issue of the pragmatic decision of Rome to insert it into the creed. But to say that it's heretical condemns a number of your own saints. Now, one objection I got from this particular person, and I've seen it in other places as well, is they're like, well, you can't use the Western Fathers to prove the Filioque. It discredits your argument. Well, no, it doesn't, because you consider them saints, your church venerates them as saints, and it's not just one Western Father. So oftentimes when you bring up St. Augustine as an example of somebody that taught the Filioque, they'll say, well, he was wrong on a few things, but, you know, the totality of his work still means that he's a saint, although he was wrong in the Filioque. Okay, well, what about St. Hilary? What about St. Ambrose, who in a number of places uses the Filioque? What about St. Cyril of Alexandria? All of these venerated saints, I'm going to include a link in the description where you can see a number of the saints that use the Filioque. So to say that it's heretical to use the Filioque condemns a number of the Greek Orthodox saints along with the Latins. Now, this particular person, when I was debating with her and showed her all of these examples of the fathers using the Filioque, said that she would not call them heretical. And of course she can't, because the Orthodox Church does not consider them heretics. If they were, they couldn't be venerated saints. But for some reason, she, at the same time, said that the Latins were heretical for using the Filioque. Well, what I'm saying is this. You can't have it both ways, Greeks. You can't have it both ways, Orthodox. You can't say, on the one hand, that the Latins, post-schism, or even leading up to the schism, are heretics for using the Filioque, and not at the same time condemn the fathers that used it. It's ridiculous. It's really crazy logic to suggest something like that. But if they're not heretics, if the fathers aren't heretics for using the Filioque, then how could you insist that the Latin Church is later? Now, there's a number of Eastern Orthodox theologians in the modern day. Of course, some of the more traditional Orthodox would write them off as ecumenists. But in any case, there's a number of Greek Orthodox theologians who have said that really the Filioque is not a substantial barrier to reunion. And I believe Meyendorff, for example, is one of them that insists that. Callistos Ware, Bishop Callistos Ware, is another one, I believe, that has also said that the Filioque is reconcilable with Orthodox theology. So Orthodox, Greeks, it's time to stop complaining about the Filioque. Do your research. Go back, look what the fathers have to say. Maybe you still disagree that it was a bad time for them to insert the Filioque into the creed. Maybe you think that it should have been done at an ecumenical council, perhaps. But to say that it's heretical is just a denial of the facts, in my opinion, and a denial of what the Church Fathers had to say. Thanks for watching. That's all for now.